Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host, GamerK. I really need to stop theming out my videos for each month half the time, because summertime expects a lot of fun videos, like my aquatic bosses, where I actually enjoy talking about this. Planning them on a video game that takes place during summertime doesn't really help, especially when that game is definitely one of the weaker ones and most boring in the series. I am, of course, talking about a couple videos I've done throughout the last 2 years. What got me into the series were two reasons. One, my ex played them, and I got four of them digitally for her to play during lockdown, just as a little something. And also, I watched a YouTuber, Arglefump, do the Nancy Drew mega marathon during lockdown, and where I actually got to watch every single game. And yeah, I gotta be honest, Nancy Drew has a lot of good games, and a lot of YouTubers have said this and even ranked their favorite games. This one is on the list that is neither good nor bad, except more on the bad side than anything. The number 10 game of the Nancy Drew series, what is it again? Alright, Secret of Shadow Ranch. And I'm going to be honest, this one was one of the more annoying ones to play. And why? Well, to quote Arglefump, and also go like his channel, go follow him, go watch his videos. Really fun, dude. Really makes you feel like you're in the game. Three things. Nancy stumbles upon a mystery cliche. Nancy scavenger hunts to find a lost treasure cliche. And number 3, Nancy does everybody's chores cliche. I would find the video files of him saying all that stuff, but I think it's just easier if I just do it. Does this game really, is it really that annoying? Well, let's find out. For one thing, the game starts off, being the 10th game of the series and coming out in 2004, it's definitely a step in the right direction in terms of graphics and animation through the series. But sadly, bad game design is really what hinders the Secret of Shadows Ranch. Basically, Nancy and her friends, Bess and George, who never make a frickin' appearance until game 25, and they're only like audio characters, and they're never really seen, which kind of sucks. It would have been really interesting having them here. Are going to Bess's aunt and uncle, their ranch in Arizona. Yeah, every single game takes place a majority of different places. Seriously, it's like the Scooby-Doo gang in Kim Possible. How does Nancy get all these places? I can barely get to half these places, and I'm older. And, okay, to be fair, I'm not a detective, but I could have been. And we are off for the summer to be at the ranch, and again, somehow we end up doing everyone else's chores. Yeah, seriously, if you go through every single, you know what? There should be a drinking game for the Nancy Drew series. Go through every single game, and every time one of a couple things happens, take a drink. That's going to be a lot of drinking, people. So basically, the aunt and uncle aren't there because a rattlesnake was in their bedroom, and the uncle decided to poke at it with a yardstick and gets bitten, and they are in the hospital. So the people we are helping throughout this game are nowhere to be seen, but we get to call them from the hospital. Okay, yeah, the Nancy Drew series the earlier games tend to come up with amazing reasons for the people we're supposed to help to not be in the game to save budget on animation, most likely. So we are basically told to kind of investigate a little bit of what happened, and also help out the people working on the ranch with their miscellaneous chores. Like I said, we end up doing everyone's chores. And those chores include, I had to write this down, horse train. Oh, we have to also do some horse quiz in order before we can start riding a horse and learn how to put a bridle on. We also chop firewood. Okay, that's only for the one night. Get water for the canteen, which we never use in the game, period. Bake cake, which no one ever eats. Vegetable picking, which we do all 3 days of the game. And it's absolutely annoying. And if you do it wrong, game over. Pick eggs. And also feed the horses. 3 days of this, guys. And as we're around the ranch, we find hidden clues and hidden puzzles. And safe for a majority of them, like the metals puzzle, the coyote puzzle, the cliff puzzle, a majority of the puzzles are so irritatingly complex for no reason. I mean, I know I'm rambling right off the bat, but what is the main story of this game? Well, apparently, a phantom horse has been seen around the ranch at night, and every time it comes by, something terrible happens. Okay, so, all honesty, I feel like we should not be Nancy Drew doing this, and be more Mystery Inc. Because at the end of the game, there's probably going to be someone saying, "You meddling kid!" I'm just saying, it would have been hilarious. It would have been a cool homage. But yeah, Secret of Shadows Ranch has quite an actually intriguing story. In the 1880s, wait, let me check. Yeah, in the 1880s of Arizona, a vile lawman, I think that's what they were called back then, named Dirk Valentine, was a absolute criminal, and it's said to believe that his steed is haunting the place of the sheriff that hung him years later. Yeah, there's a little bit more to the story than that. Basically, the criminal took a liking to the sheriff's daughter and wanted to clean up his ways, and loved her so much that he left her his fortune, but because she loved puzzles, he decided to make it a scavenger hunt to find them. It is until the sheriff finds him, puts him in jail, hangs him, the daughter hates him, and leaves for good, leaving the treasure unfound. Okay, this is another thing about Nancy Drew games that make not that much sense. For one thing, this dude put a scavenger hunt in the 1880s. I think this game takes place in 2004. I think. You know what? I'm gonna look that up. Just 1 second, everybody. This won't take me that long. When does Secret of Shadow Ranch take place? I like to be as accurate as I possibly can. Also, seriously, it doesn't say? Well, you know what? Considering she has a cell phone and everything, I'm going to guess it's modern day, so 2004. This dude set things up in an Arizona desert town in the house as well. And a ghost town not knowing what would happen in the future, and everything is pristine. Okay, Assassin's Creed and Uncharted having those secret tombs and secret devices and mechanisms that still work after many hundreds of years or so, that I get because it's hidden well and it's in ancient landmarks, so there's no way they'd be torn down or anything. But this dude set all this stuff up for his sweetheart, and yet none of it was demolished. I mean, the ghost town's basically trashed. So what's to stop some developer from tearing that part down? It's so coincidental or precise that I kind of laugh at it a little bit of how stupid it is at the same time. Man, I babbled a lot about that, but you know what? It needed to be said. Sometimes in Nancy Drew, the scavenger hunt set by regular people in order to hide their treasure is beyond ridiculous. So much so, it's irritating. So, yeah, basically we have to find the treasure, and okay, I'm gonna be honest. When we find the treasure, the fact that the dude put his girl's name in a giant heart and with his signature V for Valentine, and did it in the gold too. I gotta admit, Dirk Valentine, you may have been a bandit, but goddamn, are you not a romantic to your girl? And I do love that. So, it's not a Nancy Drew game if we don't have some people to talk to. And by that, we mean could be the culprits. We've got the cook, Shorty, who dreams of a get-rich-quick scheme. Who's very annoying considering we have to do all the vegetable hard work for him. We've got Dave, who's the, I don't know the exact term on a ranch, the hand, like the guy who does a lot of the manual labor, who also constantly hits on Nancy for some reason. Who is related to the late Marshall because, what was it? The Marshall's daughter is his great-grandmother's cousin? Because it was about over 200 years ago. Well, about 150 years. You know what I mean. So he's trying to find the treasure because the Marshall's daughter said that the cousin can have it because she has no interest in the treasure after her beloved was hanged. Man, that was a bad joke. We've got Tex, who's the guy who runs the horses, and he just screams cowboy immediately. Although, to be fair, I honestly thought he was going to be the hidden bad dude. And we also have Mary Yazzie, who is a shop owner who's a little bit further away, who is in a feud with the couple who own the ranch because it sits on some land that she's willing to buy. And we find out later that her and Tex are together. So this would have been really cool to have it be her manipulating him in order to find the treasure and everything, or to get rid of them. Now, a couple things, again, I like about this game is the atmosphere. The desert setting is always fun. We get to ride on a horse to go to the multiple different areas, to the cliff, to the ghost town. It's really, really ingenious because in some games we're kind of restricted to the small part of town that we have to be in. But this one we actually get to venture out a little bit, and I do love that. I just wish they had kind of restricted us a little bit. For example, we'd have to fill up our canteen full of water every now and then, you know? Something like that. And again, a majority of the puzzles are good. The slot machine puzzle's pretty fun. The pocket watch puzzles are simple, but but still good. I still need to rely on this. Apologize, guys. And it's, again, we're basically picking up the scavenger hunt that the girlfriend never did, because after her boyfriend got hanged, she didn't want anything to do with the treasure, or her father for that matter. And I really love that kind of mature subject matter in a Nancy Drew game. I mean, yeah, it's usually for kids, essentially, but it's still a great story overall. The metal puzzle is god-awful, and I want a skip button for it. The arrowhead puzzles are also terrible, because we have to find the arrowheads outside in the desert, but guess what? There's one in the pump house once it's destroyed, and there's no indication of going there. Seriously, I would love it if in like some games, I mean, okay, yeah, this was 2004, so they didn't really think about it, where they would kind of give you an indicator to know there's nothing left to find in this area, because guess what? In Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake, when we had to find all the worms and insects in the ground in the woods, it would have been really good to know if an area was clear or not of all items, because I was going a madman looking for them. Looking for stuff hidden in the ground is the worst kind of mechanic in a Nancy Drew game, because again, there's no indication of when you're done or when you're not. So you're literally scavenging the area like you're a goddamn idiot who got clonked in the head. Speaking of which, in the ghost town later, the key to the jail cell, which I do like how it had a little decoder, puzzle within the cell where Dirk etched tally marks to represent a letter in order to spell a message. I really, really love that. It kind of did like a little bit more ingenuity puzzles like that, because I love codex puzzles. The problem is, the minute Nancy goes for the key, someone knocks her out, and we are locked in the jail cell, where we have to rope the chair in order to get the key, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would the people leave the key there? Unless the culprit wanted Nancy to get out and focus more on how to find the treasure, which I guess is kind of ingenious. But other than like a good choice puzzles for me, the rest of it, the game, okay, yeah, throughout the game we also find little clues left by Dirk that kind of make sense, unless, also for some reason, I know I'm bouncing back and forth here, but the game bounces back and forth for no reason. For some reason, we have to call an expert on Dirk. We have to call an author for some reason, with the phone, and basically talk and ask questions. Also, Bess and George are talkable too via the phone, but it's annoying as shit, because there's no indication when we need information from them or when we need information from anyone else. Oh my god, my head hurts. Oh, there's also an arcade game that you need to do in order to get tokens, which you will use for the slot machine puzzle. I mean, the slot machine puzzle isn't that hard. Just before you start it, save your game, and if you can't do it on the first try, just reload until you do it. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back to the Roadrunner game and have to do it for more coins, which, again, is annoying as shit. I mean, some of these mini games and puzzles, if there was more of the fun ones, I wouldn't mind. But for every good one that we get, like, okay, yeah, I kind of griped about the whole when we had to map out symbols on a rock, and then we trace them in order to spell out basically an X marks the spot thing. I did enjoy it. It's just the fact that we just have to remember so much. I mean, yeah, it's an old game, so if you're smart, you'll draw the stuff on paper, just like a majority of us had to do for video games. We didn't have YouTube or cheat sheet or walkthroughs in order to figure it out. And I do love about some Nancy Drew games, how we actually have to use paper and write down the clues and everything in order to figure them out. Like the tally puzzle, I really did enjoy that. Again, Codex stuff is why I love the game. Is why I love a majority of puzzle games. Anyway, I babbled to no end about some puzzles. I babbled to no end about certain parts. The reason I'm babbling so much about them is because I'm talking about the puzzles so much, is because they're fun. And, for every one good puzzle there is, there's like 2 more that are absolutely annoying and ridiculous. For example, we break the eggs our first try because the basket had a rip in it, so we have to mend it with a puzzle. Oh, and there's also a slider puzzle, which I don't like. So like I said, for every one puzzle there is in this game, there's 3 terrible ones to join it. And I've been talking about the puzzles a lot here because the entirety of Secret of Shadows Ranch is 5 hours long, which is bull, because if you're struggling, it's going to take you maybe twice as long to do it. And the reason I'm talking about the puzzles so much during this video is because the rest of the game is us doing chores. So once again, Nancy does everyone's chores cliche. We have to do the vegetables, the eggs, put up the chicken wire to prevent the coyotes from going in at night. We have to do horse feed. We have to do all that stuff. Which wouldn't be as annoying because, like in Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake, we only have to do those chore stuff once. Because this game takes place 3 days, we have to do this every single day. The eggs, the vegetables, feeding the horse. We have to do it 3 times. And it's just as annoying the first time. I spent more time picking vegetables than I did doing puzzles. And I don't understand what made the producers think, you know what kids who are playing these are going to be excited to do? Solve a mystery and crack some codes and do some puzzles? Gardening. No, we don't. I mean, I know I'm not a kid, but still, it's not the best thing in a video game. It's not. What else here? What else is in this game that I can talk about? Oh, right. Like Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake. Remember how I talked about how the dogs appeared the first night and were never seen again until the big reveal? Yeah, the horse on the cover of the game only appears twice. Okay, yeah, the 2 times that it comes around, the water house, the pump house is destroyed, and then the power lines are cut down. But it only appears twice. I mean, at least they didn't call it Nancy Drew and the Phantom Steed, because then the game would have been an absolute lie. But again, and then when we talk to the other characters, we find out some grudges, we find out some secrets. Like, why is a majority of Nancy Drew games, the culprit's big plan is to get someone out of the way just so they can search for treasure clues? Now, oh my God. except for the anniversary, except for Alibi and Ashes, every single game I played of Nancy Drew is someone causing problems so people would leave the location in order for something to be searched. Secret in a haunted mansion. White Wolf of Icicle Creek. This one, Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake. Wait a minute. Did I just stumble upon something stupid? A cliche that I hate? Wait a minute. Wait a minute, guys. I need to check this. I did not do this intentionally, did I? No, no, I didn't. Message in a Haunted Mansion. Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake. Warnings at Waverly Academy. Aside from the one my ex had, all 4 games I played has the same theme. The culprit is causing problems, so people will leave the location so they can search for something. Again, except for Alibi and Ashes, the other 5 games I played are all the same theme. How did I not realize this? It's the one trope I hate, and I've played it like 5 times. Well, call me a glutton for punishment, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm apparently an idiot. Oh, good Lord. Oh, and another trope that I love to no end is Nancy Drew games. Mazes. I love mazes. Okay, that's a lie. I fucking hate mazes. Unless they're well designed and interesting, I hate mazes, especially in the end game. We go through the maze where we locate where the treasure's hidden. And, okay, again, in these games, I'm not saying who the culprit is. But the culprit is getting up to where we are. They have to go through all the doors we did, which are in... Okay, yes, I'm going back a little bit. In order to go through the maze, there is a code where the words that say what color stone is above the door that we have to go through, and which ones are booby-trapped or dead ends. It's kind of a cipher where the words are scrambled, so you have to unscramble them. And yeah, writing it down is essential. I'm letting you know. So as we get out of the treasure room and find a way to trap the culprit, they keep saying how many more doors they are until they're close, which kind of gives you the creep factor a little bit. So what you do is you swap out 2 of the stones with the main room and the pitfall room, and we trap the culprit. Yeah. And then all's well that ends well with everything. Culprit's behind bars and all the other characters. Everything's settled and no more issues. So, after all my babbling about Secret of Shadows Ranch, oh, also, I'm going to say this. Again, I know I'm backtracking a little bit. What made the horse glow was a phosphorus that was in the old ghost town. And Nancy notices that after we're putting the chicken wire out at night with her gloves that we wore when we were at the ghost town, and we got the phosphorus on our gloves. Why Nancy didn't notice that you're putting up chicken wire with the gloves at night and you don't realize your hands are glowing. Plus, there's a lot of continuity problems in the game, which really, 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 really irritate me. So, is it the worst Nancy Drew game? No. Far from it. There are plenty that are worse. Ship Ransom on the 7 Ships. I've never played that one, but I've seen that it's god-awful. I mean, the location is good. That's about it. The characters are a little enjoyable. I mean, it's not really clear on who the culprit is, unlike some games. I don't know what to say about this. Secret of Shadows Ranch is a good game. Is it the best? No, absolutely not. The puzzles in it that are enjoyable are still challenging for people who don't really know how to do like cipher puzzles or stuff like that. The irritating stuff gets annoying really quickly, especially when you consider that 60%, about over 60-70% of the game is us doing the chores, and then the last 30% is us just doing the puzzles. I mean, we find the puzzles very wishy-washy. Like, there's no clear indicated path of how to do the puzzles and when to do them. So, it's all guesswork a majority of the time. So, the story that it's based on with the outlaw and the sheriff's daughter is great. I just wished it was a little bit more intricate and more important, because it feels more like an anecdote than an actual lore that happened. Because as much as we hear the notes in the voices of the people who are gone, it still doesn't have enough to give me a reason to give it a higher rating. And plus, that mineral puzzle is the worst thing in the world, and I'm docking this game a lot of points for that annoying puzzle. And for all the stuff that should be a cinch, but isn't. GamerK's final verdict for Nancy Drew, Secret of Shadow Ranch, I can't give it any higher than a 6 out of 10. It's an average Nancy Drew game with the atmosphere, the story behind the lost treasure, and the puzzles. I enjoy it, but when it comes down to the fact that after over 200 years, everything's still in its place. I mean, for God's sake, when we go to the cliff, we find a piece of paper on top of a rock. On top of a rock. I mean, does it not rain, or does the wind not blow in the Arizona desert? I mean, the letter would have been destroyed by the elements of water, wind, and the sun. I mean, okay, if it was in a sealed box, I'd buy it. But it was just a piece of paper on top of a rock, with a rock on top of it. I have to dock this game severe points, because it just doesn't feel like it's realistic. I mean, I know it's a video game, but if it doesn't make sense in the world that you're built in, why should it make sense as a gamer? I mean, yeah, I know it's something fun for people, for kids and all that, and young and all that stuff, but it still has to make sense. And that is a developer problem. That is a design flaw. I mean, who's to say that Ghost Town wasn't demolished by some real estate mogul, and the slot machine puzzle, the prison would have been destroyed, so the tally mark codex wouldn't have been there. Just so many things that don't make sense drag this game down. But it's still an okay game to play. I mean, for something to do, and if you're a Nancy Drew fan and you haven't played it, then yeah, I can obviously recommend it. But as replay value goes, you're gonna want to wait as a good couple years, or if you've been hit in the head more times than Nancy has in any game. That's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed this list, because my throat is drier than the Arizona desert right now, talking about this. Luckily, I get to talk about something fun again next week. Join me next week, guys, where we take a look at the tarot and we discuss the confidants of one wild card of a thief. This is GamerK, logging out.